Welcome everyone to our candidate forum tonight, featuring the candidates for the mayor of the city of San Jose. I am Taryn Upchurch, president of the League of Women Voters of San Jose and Santa Clara. This forum is produced by our league as a public service. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of women and men established to promote informed and active participation in government. We encourage members and the public to vote, pay attention to actions of government bodies, and to run for political office. The League never supports or opposes any candidate or political party. We divide our work into two distinct parts: voter service, which is what we are doing tonight by offering you a chance to watch and listen to candidates answer questions. The second part is advocacy. While we never will say vote for or against candidate X, after careful study and evaluation, we sometimes take positions on legislation or ballot measures. League is a strong grassroots organization. Our members are not only members of a local league, but also members of the League of Women Voters of the Bay Area, California, and the United States. Also, there are 5 leagues in Santa Clara County, and each league supports specific cities and towns. Our league supports San Jose, Santa Clara, Milpitas, Morgan Hill, and Gilroy. If you are not a member of our organization, we encourage you to join us. You may join online at lwvsjsc.org, or you can find and print a form to fill out and mail to us. On that form, you can choose to pay as little or as much as fits your budget. In our voter service function, we hold candidate forums, like our gathering this evening. In the upcoming November election, there are also 7 state propositions and some local ballot measures. During events we call pros and cons, we aim to present a balanced and fair analysis of some of those measures so that you can better understand the issues and make informed decisions about them. We also hold voter registration events in various locations, including schools, libraries, farmers markets, and even in some health facilities. Importantly, we work hard to produce a website called Voters Edge, a project managed by the League of Women Voters in partnership with an organization called MapLight. Voters Edge is easy for you. Simply enter your street address and zip code, and you will see a list of all of the contests on your ballot. You can also find nonpartisan pros and cons analyses of key ballot measures on Voters Edge, along with some helpful information about campaign financing. Finally, for the candidates who have chosen to fill out a profile, you can easily see their top priorities, their experience, and information about their policy preferences. What might they do if they are elected? Both of our candidates tonight have provided information for you. Also, in the next few days, the video of this forum will be posted to the San Jose Mayor's page on Voters Edge. I would now like to review some basic dates about this election on November the 8th. You should have received the voter information guide from the Secretary of State and our County Registrar of Voters. The paper ballots were started to be mailed yesterday, so you may have already received yours. After you mark your choices on your ballot, place it in the envelope that was provided, and be sure to sign the outside of the envelope with your name, as it is written on the address label. Remember to include the date. You have several options for returning your ballot. You can simply mail it, or you can find a drop box or local vote center near you and deposit your envelope there. You can also locate nearby drop boxes and vote centers in your county voter information guide, or by consulting the interactive lookup function at sccvote.org. Finally, after you have dropped your ballot, you may also track its path through the counting process. And now, I'm honored to introduce Eleanor Yick, who is Vice President of Voter Service for our neighboring League of Women Voters of Southwest Santa Clara Valley. We are delighted that she is moderating tonight's forum. Eleanor, over to you.
Thank you, Taryn. And now I am pleased to join you tonight for this candidate forum. But before I introduce the candidates and give an overview of the forum, I'd like to summarize a few of the rules that the candidates have agreed to abide by in tonight's event. In order to be sure that all candidates have a fair chance to speak to you, we always track the time that each candidate has to speak. Tonight, each candidate will have normally 1 minute to speak. A candidate does not have to use all of the time allotted and may finish up with a sentence when the time is up. I will enforce the time limits, and you will see the timer show warning signs as time is running out and a stop sign when time is up. We have asked all candidates to refrain from any personal attacks or criticisms. The easiest way to do this is to simply not refer to your opponent at all by name or calling him or her your opponent, etc. We urge candidates to describe their own qualifications and approaches to solving issues. We did not give the questions to the candidates in advance, and no one may excerpt any portion of the recorded forum for any purpose without our league's specific permission. And now I'd like to introduce the candidates. Candidates, when I mention your name, please join us by turning on your video. The first candidate I'd like to introduce for mayor is Cindy Chavez. Cindy, please turn on your video. Thank you very much and welcome. Next, I'd like to introduce Mahan. Please turn on your video. Thank you. There we go. The format for today's forum will be as follows. Each candidate will make a 1 minute opening statement. Next, the candidates will respond to questions submitted in advance. These questions were reviewed and sorted by league members in order to combine duplicates, broaden any that are specifically addressed to a single speaker, and eliminate those that are an attack on the speaker. Due to time allocations, not every question may be asked. All questions will be directed to both candidates, and each candidate will have 1 rebuttal opportunity during the Q&A portion. So after the opening statement, then we have Q&A, then we end it and go to closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 rebuttal opportunity during the Q&A portion. If requested, the candidate will have 30 seconds to rebut a comment made by the other candidate. And just either raise your hand like this so I can see you, or you can actually go down to the bottom of your screen and raise your hand. If by some reason I don't see it, please feel free to say, Eleanor, just a moment, and then I'll acknowledge you. Okay, so now we are ready to begin. And we are going to have the candidates make their opening statement in alphabetical order. So we will begin with candidate Cindy Chavez. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for pulling us together. And thank you all for attending. It just shows a great concern and love for the city of San Jose. I'm really delighted to be here with all of you this evening and am excited to hear your questions and your comments. I have been a member of the Board of Supervisors now for 9 years and previously served as a member of the San Jose City Council almost 16 years ago. I've lived in San Jose for 40 years, and my husband and my son, Brennan, all live in downtown San Jose. We live just in the Negley Park neighborhood, just east of San Jose State University. I've chosen to run for mayor because I saw the amazing work that we can do when we choose to work together. And there are so many people in our community who feel disaffected and feel unheard. And the one place we can connect people to their government is really at a local level. And we can do that in real time and make real change that people can feel in their communities. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from candidate Mahan. Matt?
you, Eleanor. Thank you, Eleanor Tarrant and the League of Women Voters. I really appreciate the work you do to promote civic engagement in our community, and I'm happy to be here with the audience this evening. Thank you all for taking the time to be civically engaged. I'm running for mayor because I love San Jose, and frankly, I'm concerned about the trajectory we are on as a city. I love San Jose because it gave me opportunity in life. I came here as a commuter student from Watsonville on a work-study scholarship at Bellarmine many years ago, came back as a public school teacher, and my wife Sylvia and I are raising our two little kids, Nina and Luke, here in Almaden Valley. I'm concerned about our trajectory because despite paying some of the highest taxes in the country, we've seen homelessness, affordable housing, and crime grow worse. I'm running to offer a different approach to local governance, one rooted in accountability, focus, and measuring our performance. And I look forward to talking about those ideas this evening.
Thank you. And now we will begin with the Q&A that were submitted through the registration process, and we'll rotate back and forth as to which candidate goes first. So Matt, you will be starting with the first question. Why do you specifically want to become the mayor of San Jose?
Thank you. And I was starting to get into that in my opening statement. I see a lot of opportunity for improving the way that we tackle our biggest problems. I believe that when we pass a multi-billion-dollar budget every year, we on the council ought to be required to set 3 to 5 strategic goals, things like reducing the number of people living outside, reducing the crime rate, improving 911 response times, and so forth. And that we should have to specify which programs and policies are meant to deliver improvements in those service levels. And I believe further that at the end of each year, our pay raises as elected officials should be tied to moving the needle. I think if we had that level of transparency and accountability, you would see us fail faster and acknowledge that many of our current policies are not working well and that we need to change them faster. So I really want to bring a new level of accountability to City Hall.
Thank you. And Cindy?
Yes, thank you for the question. I'm really excited about the opportunity to be mayor of San Jose in order to complete work that so desperately needs to be done in our city. I want to make San Jose the safest big city in America again, as it was when I served on the council. I want to get housing built, especially affordable housing, as quickly as we can. I want to continue to address homelessness in a more robust way and continue to learn new ways to do that. And I want San Jose to be clean again. And one of the things I learned being at the Board of Supervisors and at the City Council is that if we can get levels of government to collaborate in meaningful ways, that we are going to be able to do more faster than we're doing today. I could give just one example. One example is that I believe we would be able to house people faster if all of our organizations and agencies were on the same page, following the same game plan, and that we would do it in a more cost-effective way.
Thank you, Cindy. And we'll start with you with the next question. And that is, what do you regard as the 3 most important tasks for the mayor of San Jose?
Great question. I think, there are meeting these goals relative to public safety and cleanliness and getting our housing moving. But I think just to be a little bit technical, I think first we have to make sure the planning, building, and code enforcement department is very well organized, well funded, and well served. Right now, we have a vacancy rate that toggles between 1/3 and 20%. And it's the most important agency outside of public safety because it's the way we get revenue into the city. It's the way we organize ourselves as a city. It's how we get housing through the pipeline. So to me, that's like job 1. Job 2 is making sure that we're working with our public safety agencies to make sure that we're hiring, retaining, and training the best and the brightest to be part of our San Jose Police Department, because we're so short of officers. We're 200 short, and we're going to need a very significant partnership to be able to get everybody hired and on board.
Thank you, Cindy. Matt?
3 for me would be reduce homelessness, reduce crime, and build more affordable housing. I believe we can reduce homelessness at a faster rate by building more cost-effective, basic, quick-build apartments for those who need them and investing in inpatient addiction and mental health care. I think we can reduce crime by properly staffing our police department and ending the revolving door effect that we're seeing at the county jail right now by providing appropriate interventions in addiction, mental illness, and other challenges people are facing. And finally, the single biggest regional challenge we face that affects so many of our working families is just the lack of housing. We need to remove barriers in our permitting processes and fees and other barriers we've constructed that block building housing where we want it in places like downtown and near high frequency transit. And I believe we can make real progress in all three of those areas.
Thank you, Matt. And we'll begin with you this next round. What skills and experiences makes you qualified to be the mayor of San Jose?
Sure, I'll just touch on two past experiences. One is I was a public school teacher in Eastside San Jose when I first came back from college, and I saw firsthand the challenges many of our working families face. And I have a vision for how the city can leverage its assets like libraries, community centers, and parks to provide support for young people and invest in future generations before and after school and during the summer. Second, I helped build and was a founder of one tech company that was involved in promoting civic engagement using technology to make democracy more accessible to people, to make government more transparent. I've spent years building tools that helped millions of Americans participate more fully in their government. And I think that my experience building teams to achieve goals for our users who were citizens participating in their democracy is something that I can bring into City Hall.
Thank you. Cindy?
Yes, thank you for the question. You know, as a member of the City Council and a member of the Board of Supervisors, one of the things that I've always taken very, very seriously is that we have an obligation at a local level really to perform for the public. And San Jose hasn't been able to do that for many, many years. And what that means to me is that we want to have outcomes that dramatically impact the people we serve. As a member of the City Council, I doubled the amount of neighborhood park space in downtown San Jose. San Jose, I led the effort to make San Jose the first big city in the country, in fact, the first city in the nation to offer every child under the age of 18 access to health insurance. As a member of the Board of Supervisors, I led the effort to save 2 hospitals, St. Louis and O'Connor, that saved 451 beds and 2 emergency rooms. And I led our efforts to fight COVID-19 on the community side. Those experiences make me uniquely qualified to lead the city in this next phase of its development.
Thank you, Cindy. And our next question will begin with you. You've probably figured out the pattern at this point. So Cindy.
It still helps, Eleanor. Thank
Pardon
you.
me?
I said it still helps.
Okay. How will you communicate with the citizens of San Jose? Cindy.
I think there are so many ways to do that, but one program that I loved when I served on the City Council was the Strong Neighborhoods Initiative. And it was really focused on areas where redevelopment was a core element of work that we were doing in the community. But what it allowed us to do is work with neighborhood associations, build them up, work with them on their plans. And whenever a developer or the budget came up, the community already had its plan ready to go. I'd like to see that be a citywide program. I'd love to have City Hall in the neighborhood for each council district, because I know so many council districts, especially those that aren't centered to downtown, feel so far away. During COVID, we made sure that we did one of the most robust e-newsletters. People still tell me that they read it. And I think making sure that City Hall is felt around the community and that the community is able to give input to City Hall, and that we do a report card every year, which I did when I was on the City Council for all of my neighborhood associations.
Thank you, Cindy. And Matt, how will you communicate with the citizens of San Jose?
Well, I'll start by saying I'm also a huge believer in investing in neighborhood associations. In fact, my office has a neighborhood association liaison, and just over the past year, we have helped start 4 new neighborhood associations in my district alone. More broadly, though, I think the city needs to really overhaul the way it communicates with its residents using technology. In my District 10 office, I've embraced Zoom as an opportunity for doing bi-weekly town hall meetings where anyone in the community can join and ask questions and be part of an open conversation with me. we've borrowed from my experience in tech to build a constituent services portal through which we helped resolve over 9,000 constituent requests last year and had a very high approval rating from our residents for that service. And finally, we've helped bring community members together through something we call community working groups to suggest ideas and help connect them directly with city staff so that we're bringing people into the process and helping residents actually shape the policies and programs that we run at the city.
Thank you, Matt. And the next question, we'll begin with you, Matt. Do you have plans to include, no, let me start over. Do you have plans to rebuild the police force, and what are they?
I do.
They are primarily, this question relates to slow or no response time from the citizens of the city.
Yes.
You want me to repeat that?
No, I got it. I was just, sorry, I think we had a lag there. I thought you were finished. I'll start now. Yes, absolutely. So first of all, it has to be a budget priority, even more so than it has been. We tend to add more programs and more initiatives, and staffing our police department will be my #1 priority. I think we can add at least 25 officers per year going forward if it's a top priority. We need to better partner with and leverage resources from other parts of government. We need to build upon the success we've had working with the county to have healthcare practitioners actually responding to 911 calls that maybe don't require an officer with a gun. So differentiating our 911 response, reducing our use of mandatory overtime to allow us to add more roles is another strategy. So I think we have to be very focused on properly staffing the department so that when a resident calls, they're not waiting over 7 minutes for a priority 1 call or over 20 minutes for a priority 2 call.
Thank you, Matt. Cindy?
I think this is an incredibly important issue. And I'll start by saying that the city of San Jose has spent between $40 and $50 million a year over the last 3 years, maybe longer, on overtime pay. And if we had taken a fraction of that pay and applied it for ongoing officers, we would be further ahead than we are today. The city of San Jose added 20 new police officers in the last budget and added 15 more for the next 5 years. I think we need to start at 45, and then we need to finish something that I started when I was on the council, which is to do a robust analysis of what our public safety needs ultimately are. Now, there are many, many components to public safety. There's, having a good, strong police response. There is the different kinds of teams that can respond to different issues so that we're really refining what they're responding to. But all of that is predicated on having a well-staffed police department.
Thank you, Cindy. Next question, and we'll begin with you, Cindy. How will you balance the need for affordable housing without overcrowding existing neighborhoods?
One of the great opportunities that we have is that through my work at the Valley Transportation Authority, we are focused on building out housing and jobs on 200 acres that belong to VTA. And it has the opportunity to have 1/3 of all of the housing that gets built will be extremely low, very low, and moderate income housing. And what that means is you're building very diverse, which I think are healthier neighborhoods. So one is making sure that we're using our public resources and our public land in a very strategic way to get that housing built. The second is that we need to work with neighborhoods more closely. I talked about that a few questions ago to say, I think one of the challenges is that the city hasn't treated the neighborhoods as allies and partners, but really almost as enemies by surprising them with projects in their communities. And I would change that right away.
Thank you very much. Our next question is also related. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. I need to go back to you. I'm sorry. So Matt, and let me repeat the question for you. How will you balance the need for affordable housing without overcrowding existing neighborhoods?
Yes, and I've worked to protect Coyote Valley, to fight against developing the evergreen foothills. I also don't support the idea that we should just let a developer buy any single family home anywhere and convert it into a fourplex. I think we need a smart growth strategy that removes barriers and fees for building in areas where we want housing, where we have the infrastructure to sustain greater densities without making quality of life terrible for everyone. We already have horrible traffic. Most of our air pollution comes from cars on the road. We need to be building up in places like downtown, near our transit corridors. We can significantly increase our housing supply and make housing more affordable for our kids and grandkids if we speed up permitting, reduce the vacancy rates in our planning department, keep our fees under control, and really incentivize building more housing in places like downtown where we can sustain mixed use, walkable, transit-oriented housing that will be better for everyone.
Thank you. And the next question relates to housing again and asks for a little bit more specificity. Please explain how you will work to distribute affordable housing throughout the entire city. Two districts have considerably more than the other districts. Matt?
Yeah, so we just went through this exercise at the council and adopted a new affordable housing siting policy that has the express intent of better distributing affordable housing. In fact, I have worked on, I think we're up to now 4 developments in my district. And those of you who know Almaden and Santa Teresa, this is a lower density area, but along our light rail lines and our major bus routes, we have opportunities to build up. And when the city is helping to fund affordable housing, putting it near transit and retail makes a lot more sense than just kind of distributing lower density housing out at the periphery of the city. So I think we're moving in the right direction on an affordable housing siting policy that asks every district in the city to play a role in addressing our housing crisis. But even within those districts, we have to be smart about where we densify.
Thank you, Matt. Cindy?
Yeah, I think this is a really important question. And I know that council members, Esparza and Perales, really led the council to have a bigger conversation about this policy. And it's one actually that I think is really critical. And I think it doesn't just impact the city of San Jose, but the county as a whole. And what that means is that we want other cities also to help with affordable housing. So you don't just have the pressure on District 7 in South downtown or downtown San Jose or District 5, but that you really are asking other cities to support affordable housing. For Measure A, I think out of the 44 projects that are in process or completed, I want to say a little over half of, maybe more than that, almost 2/3 are in San Jose. This is money that San Jose has requested from the county, but we've really encouraged other cities to join on. And we have another 8 cities that are also building affordable housing. And I think that will take the pressure off of a couple of districts.
Thank you, Cindy. Next question. What are some ways you would improve and expand mental health and addictive services?
So the county is really the lead agency on this area. And we've partnered with the city of San Jose in a couple of ways. And one of them that is very important is having the police response that is coupled with counseling responses for high need individuals. So that's one area where the city really can play a leadership role. And one opportunity, again, is if the city continues to expand the police department, we'll be able to expand those teams both on the county and the city side, because one of the constraints we have is frankly finding enough clinicians and having enough trained officers that are available to be in very high need situations that require a lot of training, and then therefore that partnership. The other thing is that the county is expanding both locked beds and subacute facilities now for people who are very, very high need, who are on our streets that need to be in a locked, safe place, but aren't appropriate to have in the county jail.
Thank you. Matt?
Thank you. I'm very concerned about the lack of inpatient care options for those suffering from mental illness and addiction. I've seen firsthand what the alternative looks like in a state like Massachusetts. I know we can do better. I was a vocal advocate for Laura's Law, which after some period of time, the county has begun to implement. I'm a big fan of care courts. I will be an advocate for the governor's proposal now actually signed into law that will be enabling a judge to mandate someone who is really struggling go into inpatient care for a period of time, and then it puts the onus on the requirement on the county in which they reside to then provide those inpatient treatment options, which have been so lacking. And finally, I will be advocating in Sacramento for the funding for our county to have the secure drug treatment facility that judges need to be able to mandate someone into one of those facilities as an alternative to jail if they're repeatedly involved in the criminal justice system.
Thank you, Matt. Next question, Matt, we'll start with you. How will you deal with the inevitable requests for favors from contributors to your campaign?
Yeah, the reason I am so focused on goals is that I want to transparently have everyone, myself, first of all, accountable to the public for staying focused on a few really important outcomes that matter most to everyone in our community: reducing homelessness, reducing crime, building housing where it makes sense, improving our roads and parks. And I believe that if we keep everyone focused on measurable goals, where every month we're reporting out on our progress, where we are acknowledging our failures, where we're cutting the programs and policies that aren't working and trying new things, there is not going to be room for anyone on our council to be doing special favors for any interest groups, because we should all be transparently following along and understanding the policies we're implementing and whether or not they're producing outcomes. It needs to be a much more open process of what I would call performance management toward measurable improvement. And I have no interest in favoring specific groups or donors or anybody else.
Thank you, Matt. Cindy?
Yes, thank you. Two efforts that I've led on that I think address these issues is that at the city and now at the county, every elected official has to show their calendar to the public. And I think that's incredibly important. It's very easy to look at. And also having the lobbyist registry, because those lobbyists have to be able to say who they're working for. So you will know exactly who, who is lobbying for whom and who they're meeting with. And then the other thing we have that I think is really helpful is it's very easy to look up who makes what donations, both in terms of individuals, but also in terms of the independent expenditures that we're starting to see. As a member of VTA and as a member of, well, really as a member of VTA is the first time I did this, but we created an audit committee so that we would be reviewing all of our policies and procedures on a consistent basis, including the way we do procurement. So I think that the more transparent the policies are that you build in, the easier it is to be protective of the public's trust.
Thank you, Cindy. Our next question. How can you, as mayor, work with the city manager and staff to achieve your goals?
So that's a great question. And I will just share a couple of observations. One is that I have 9 of the 10 council members are endorsing me for mayor. And one of the reasons that's so important is some of them are to the left of me and some of them are to the right of me, but they all want to make sure that they can get work done. And one of the most important jobs of the council is to be able to evaluate the staff that reports directly to the council. And that really is the city manager. And having very refined goals. If we're going to be focused on public safety, and the way we're going to focus that is, how quick we're responding to calls, what our closure rate is in terms of securing the completed investigations and maybe even prosecutions, how clean the streets are, all of those, whatever those top priorities are for the council, it's getting the council to agree on those and then holding the city manager accountable, and the city manager then holds the staff accountable.
Thank you, Cindy. Matt?
Thanks. I think this is a really important question because as I go out knocking on doors, I feel a real disconnect between voters in their homes and neighborhoods and what I hear inside City Hall all too often. I hear a lot of urgency out in our neighborhoods and a real frustration and an understanding that many of our current policies simply aren't working. And I think that the elected, establishment, if you will, is fairly cozy. Everybody's kind of friends. And I want to lead by having us be more aspirational about the outcomes we care about. And I think the mayor is uniquely well positioned by virtue of the fact that the mayor gets to initiate the budget process and to put forward a set of measurable goals that should be posted publicly, visited in every council meeting, open for everyone to see and offer input into. And I want to work with our city manager to build that culture of focus and performance management that's missing today.
Thank you. The next question actually refers to the same topic, and maybe you want to add on a little bit more. It says, how will you work with the city council to achieve your goals? And to me, it's very much related to what you talked about with the city manager, but perhaps you want to add on a little bit more. Matt?
Yeah, it's very related. Thank you. And I want to be clear about something. What I'm trying to bring forward is a framework and a way of operating that I saw both in a well-run public school and public classroom and in the companies that I built. And I don't believe that I will, and nor should I, be able to dictate what the goals are. What I want is a forcing function, a process through the budget in which we have a more accountable budget, where our colleagues have more of a framework for discussing and debating what matters, and we're encouraging our city manager to manage up. The council is basically a board of directors, and the city manager is more like a CEO. And we need our city manager to, frankly, be able to push back on the council and say, okay, if you're going to add something, we have to take something off the agenda. If you're going to ask us to go do more work over here, there's a trade-off. And we don't have those conversations nearly frequently enough at the council level. So I really want to build a good process and framework for us to collaboratively identify priorities and rank our approaches and acknowledge on the ones that aren't working so we can replace them.
Thank you, Matt. Cindy?
So I find this to be a very, very important question. And the reason for that is that, and I want to go back to this idea that the board is just cozy and friends. And I will say that I don't think that, I think that undersells really the professionalism of the colleagues that we serve with. I had an opportunity to work with many members of the city council on everything from expanding childcare to fighting sexual assault and changing the way we respond to domestic violence calls and the services that are provided, and on issues of reproductive health and public safety. And the reason that's important is that I think that being able to put our goals together in really concrete ways means that we need to make sure that each representative, that we're taking their best talents and their best skills, making sure their communities are represented, and still doing it in a way that keeps everybody moving forward with some concrete goals.
Thank you. Our next question, and we'll start with you, Cindy. What will you do to support a vibrant economy in San Jose?
Yes, that's an excellent question. It goes back to something I talked about a little earlier, and that really is that nerve center for the city is making sure that code enforcement, our permitting processes and planning and building are all working really, really well. It means we need to get rid of the backlog. We need to restructure that department so that people are moving as quickly as we can, because we have to treat that department as if every single opportunity is a sales opportunity, right? To get someone those tenant improvement permits, or get them through the process fast enough that they choose San Jose instead of Campbell or Los Gatos or Colorado or Texas. So making sure that that department is together is really humming is really important. The second thing I don't think we've done nearly enough is we've got all these incredible leaders, business leaders in our community, and we don't engage them enough in helping us woo people or helping us retain companies. And I'd really like us to expand that partnership with our business community, because they know our future depends on this as well.
Thank you, Cindy. Matt?
Thank you. We really have to get back to basics at City Hall. There are a small number of core services that we are responsible for providing and outcomes that we are responsible for delivering that affect everyone in the community, and some disproportionately affect our small businesses. Cindy mentioned a couple of those. Permitting and code enforcement are two areas that matter to everyone, but especially affect small businesses. It is unacceptable for us to have a 26% vacancy rate in the planning department right now and have permit intake meetings take 90 days to schedule. That's not okay, and I will change that as mayor. But we also have to have commercial districts that are safer and cleaner. we have to be much more efficient at transitioning people off the streets into basic shelter and supportive services. We have to engage our community to keep our neighborhoods clean. We have to improve law enforcement and code enforcement. Unless we have clean and safe commercial districts, our small businesses are going to really struggle to thrive.
Thank you, Matt. And our next question, what are any other challenges that you see in governing the city of San Jose that haven't come up in our conversation so far?
Well, I think the biggest challenge that I see coming from a very different sector is that there's very little forcing function for requiring us to be focused. I call this I like to joke, it's the Winchester Mystery House effect, where when there is additional funding, there's always a temptation to add more rooms onto that Winchester Mystery House and to try to take on new initiatives, new programs, new challenges, new issues, because there are so many issues and they're all important. And I think we sometimes forget to come back to the basics that I was just describing. What can we do uniquely well? We do public safety, public infrastructure, permitting, code enforcement. Those are the kinds of things that only we can do. And I think there's always a temptation for elected officials to want to talk about more issues and keep branching out, even when we're not doing a good job of delivering the core services we're responsible for. And I really plan to be a voice for focus because I've seen how powerful it can be in building a company and helping my students get back on grade level.
Thank you, Matt. And Cindy?
I think one of the things that we haven't talked about is how by doing more work collaboratively, we can stretch the public's dollars and improve our services. And as an example, it's true that the city isn't going to make decisions about mental health, but the city has a really significant role to play if we're going to send mental health workers out with police officers, as an example. That is the kind of planning and joint engagement that the city and the county should be doing together. And in some areas, we've been doing that. And I talked a little bit about that relative to sexual assault and domestic violence. And what we did was not wait for the big institutions to get together, but myself and the chair of another committee would get together and say, well, what are we going to do on childcare so that we're using our strengths and our resources appropriately? And there are so many missed opportunities where we are not doing that would improve services dramatically for the public.
Thank you, Cindy. And our next question is there anything you wished we had asked you about that we haven't touched on? Cindy?
Oh, you asked a lot of good questions. You've been going through these really fast. I think the only thing that I would say is I do think that that it's really important that we talk about what's going to happen to the future of San Jose relative to resilience and the environment. And one of the things that I, for example, am very concerned about is that as we think about our resources, whether that's water or energy, and think about how cities are going to have to function in an environment where climate change is so real and so pervasive. And then what are the implications of that? And as an example, one of the things I'd really like to see us doing is working with all of our fire departments to do shared purchases, for example, of equipment, shared defensive space around the entire, not just the city of San Jose, but the county overall, cross training so everybody can use the equipment that's purchased. And again, really thinking about how resilience is built into our cities.
Thank you, Cindy. And Matt?
Yeah, the first thing that jumped to my mind as you asked the question was water and energy reliability. I really think that these core utilities that we all are completely dependent upon are critical, and we need to better educate the public about what the options are, what kinds of investments we need to make. I would like to see us expand water recycling in our Purple Pipe network. I think we should be doing more to incentivize people to convert their lawns to native gardens when they're willing, because we can reduce water consumption by 90%. In terms of outdoor use when we do that. On the energy front, we have to chart a course toward energy carbon neutrality, but we have to be clear with the public about the investments that need to be made. They aren't going to be easy. We need grid scale storage. We will need reliable baseload power. And there are a lot of important conversations about basic utilities that the city plays a role in delivering that we haven't gotten into yet tonight. And I think, frankly, we don't talk about enough as a community.
Thank you. And that actually brings us to the end of the questions that were submitted by the community. And since we have a little time before moving on to your closing statement, instead of the typical 60 seconds, I'm going to give you each 90 seconds to make your closing statement. Wow, another 30 seconds.
Right.
But I hope it will be an opportunity again for you if there is something really important that you wanted to communicate out to San Jose residents, that you have this opportunity in your closing statement to do so. And we'll do it in the opposite way of the introduction. So we're going to begin with you, Matt, first, and then we'll go to Cindy. So Matt, your closing statement, 90 seconds, please.
Thank you. And thank you for all of the very thoughtful questions and good discussion this evening. I'll close on this. And I know it's hard to go into great detail in 60-second responses, but I am focused on this notion of bringing a greater culture of accountability to local government, because I firmly believe that many of our approaches today to ending homelessness, to promoting small business growth and activity, to reducing crime, to building more housing simply aren't working. They aren't scaling to meet the need. And I hear far too often in local government from our elected officials an excuse for the status quo, frankly, an explanation for why things have to be this way, or how we're working so hard and we're trying so hard. And that's all great. I have a lot of respect for my colleagues and look forward to working with them in this new capacity. But I think that our community will be better off if we are setting measurable goals and very transparently showing you that the approaches we're taking aren't working. If we were more accountable, I don't think you would see our primary solution to homelessness be building brand new apartments at almost $1 million a door. I don't think you would see the revolving doors at the county jail and Valley Med that you see today. I don't think you would see our permitting processes be so slow and expensive. We need more foundational change, and that's only going to come about if you all are empowered to hold us accountable for the outcomes, not just the nice things we say in forums, frankly. So I hope you go to mahanforsanjose.com to learn more. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. And Cindy?
Yes, thank you for moderating, Eleanor, and to the League of Women Voters for hosting us this evening. And again, to all of you who've spent time with us, it's greatly, greatly appreciated. It just demonstrates how important San Jose is to all of us. I want to just acknowledge a couple of things. I think San Jose has a tremendous opportunity, and it really is at a crossroads. And it's not just San Jose, but every major city in this country. And the reason is that at a national level, we can see that so many people are disaffected. So many people feel unheard. So many people feel like government doesn't reflect their values. At a local level, we can demonstrate that over and over and over again, that we care. And not only that we care, but that when we spend our Commonwealth, good things come out of it. I just want to acknowledge that I think that it's important to acknowledge what we do well. It's important to acknowledge what we don't do well. And I think it's okay for government to make mistakes. It's very hard to have mistakes made publicly because right away everybody starts pointing fingers. What I'm looking for, and the reason I'm running for mayor, is I want to make sure that every job, when people come to me and they say, why do you want to be mayor of San Jose? It's because when you're mayor of a big city like this, everything is your job. You don't get to say the county this, the state that. You have to figure out how to work together and have the results that are going to make San Jose safer, cleaner, healthier, and more vibrant, and a great way for us to, a place for us to raise our kids and grow old. That's what I want, why I want to be mayor of San Jose. And I would be so honored to have your support.
Thank you so much. And that concludes our forum for tonight. Thank you, candidates, for participating. And I also thank all of the volunteers who made this forum possible. And now I'd like to turn the program back to Taryn Upchurch, the president of the League of Women Voters of San Jose, Santa Clara, for some final words. Taryn?
Thank you, Eleanor. Our league and others in Santa Clara County have produced many candidate forums for this election. You can learn more about these events, as well as general information, by reviewing our websites. Also, remember to visit votersedge.org to find more information about the candidates featured in this evening, and also learn more about other candidates and ballot measures. We produce these forums because we believe that a democratic government depends on the informed and active participation of its citizens. We hope that the insights you have gained from this forum will help you make more informed decisions on your ballot. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. Remember to vote on November 8th and help make our democracy work. Have a good evening.
Thank you.